Charles Leclerc's pole position lap in Budapest didn't just surprise McLaren. It triggered something deeper inside Ferrari. As the final cue 3 times lit up the timing screens, it wasn't Oscar Piastri or Lando Norris at the top, but Leclerc pulling a lap out of nowhere on a track he once described as cursed. For the cameras, it was a feel-good turnaround. But inside the other side of the Ferrari garage, there was no celebration. Lewis Hamilton had already packed up, eliminated in Q2, finishing 12th at a circuit where he's won 8 times. And what's haunting about that result isn't just the elimination. It's the quiet, weary radio tone that followed every time. Every time. No technical complaint, no data request, just resignation. It was the bookend to a weekend that started with emotional discomfort in FP1 and ended with competitive irrelevance in qualifying, a soft-spoken signal that something far more fundamental is going wrong. That radio silence echoed an earlier moment from FP1 when Hamilton, after a single exploratory lap, told engineer Riccardo Adami that the car didn't give him good feelings. The words were plain, but the implications weren't. Hamilton doesn't speak in absolutes unless something's deeply off. He didn't ask for adjustments. He didn't mention balance or grip. He just didn't trust it. And Adami's response, just one word, okay, was equally revealing. No follow-up, no recalibration, just dead air. That silence, for a driver like Hamilton, is deafening. It doesn't just reflect a technical disconnect. It signals emotional misalignment. And by the time Q2 came around, that unspoken tension had calcified into a full-blown performance wall. While Leclerc found precision in the chaos, Hamilton couldn't find flow. And in a sport where confidence is currency, he'd gone bankrupt. Leclerc's last lap heroics showed what happens when the car speaks the same language as the driver. The SF25 might not be perfect, but in the hands of a driver whose rhythm it understands, it becomes more than the sum of its specs. For Hamilton, the same machine felt alien, responsive to someone else's inputs, tuned to someone else's style. And that difference doesn't show up in the sector times. It shows up in the pauses, in the clipped radio, in the hesitations through high-speed direction changes that don't show up on camera, but scream in the data. Hamilton wasn't fighting the track. He was fighting the car itself. And with every lap that failed to deliver feedback he could believe in, that fight became more internal, more personal. So when qualifying ended and Leclerc stood at the top of the grid, it wasn't just a statement about raw pace. It was a referendum on trust between driver and machine, driver and engineer, and maybe even driver and team. As the lights go out on Sunday, that silent fracture might matter more than the grid position. Because for Hamilton, the real battle isn't with the field. It's with a car that no longer feels like his. As the paddock came to life on Saturday morning, McLaren looked untouchable. Practice times had established their authority, and the opening qualifying sessions only reinforced it. Piastri and Norris trading purple sectors with a kind of rhythmic certainty. Even the early threat of rain didn't rattle them. Their car looked dialed in for this circuit. Fast changes of direction, tight mechanical grip, and enough downforce to float through Sector 2 like it was pre-mapped. But while McLaren surged, the Ferrari garage split in two. Leclerc, calm and focused, went quietly to work. Hamilton, on the other hand, unraveled. His radio message, every time, wasn't just a complaint. It was a verdict. And when he followed it with a bitter remark about whether the team needed a different driver, the air in the garage shifted. This wasn't the sound of someone lacking speed. It was the voice of a driver who no longer felt part of the machine. Leclerc's Q3 lap was nearly perfect. Not aggressive, not desperate, just patient. As track temperature dipped and grip peaked, he stitched together a clean lap that caught both McLarens off guard. Piastri had been on provisional pole. Norris was just behind. But neither could respond when Leclerc delivered a 1 minute and 15.372 seconds in the final minutes, displacing them both by mere hundredths. The car had come alive for him at exactly the right moment. And that's the difference. While Hamilton wrestled with a chassis that refused to listen, Leclerc coaxed performance out of it like a fluent speaker using his native tongue. The SF25 didn't just behave for Leclerc, it responded. Turn-in, throttle pickup, mid-corner balance, it all came together. Hamilton, meanwhile, was left stranded in Q2, 12th on the grid at a circuit where he has won more than anyone in history. No weather excuse, no mechanical failure, just misalignment between what he needed and what the car offered. And when the session ended, he wasn't angry. He was distant, detached. That emotional withdrawal, coupled with a second consecutive weekend of setup misfire, points to a deeper fracture. Ferrari's rear suspension update may have improved baseline performance, but it seems calibrated around driving DNA, aggressive on entry, responsive at high speed. For Hamilton, who builds confidence through feel and balance, the car now behaves like a foreign object. So qualifying wasn't just a story about lap times. It was a referendum on Ferrari's internal trajectory. Two drivers, same machinery, but fundamentally different relationships with